Oh, sorry. Took a little longer than I aimed. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to JP's Budget Collecting and the Indie Show. And tonight, myself and my guests are talking Something is Killing the Children. So without further ado, let's bring in my guests, and we're going to dig into this. So first up, we got a couple people that have actually been reading this, I think, from the beginning, but we will get into that. We got John's Comics for Kids. What's going on, John?
Hey, man! It's good to be here and talking about a book that hopefully you like better than last time.
We'll see. Well, we'll find out more about that book next Monday. So, because we're digging into additional volumes, but I will say I did enjoy this one more than I enjoyed that one. So we will go there. Next up, we got Comic Books NYC, which is maybe the biggest fan I've heard of this so far. Like, I feel like
I don't know if I'm the biggest. I mean, I don't know if I've really been there from the beginning per se, but I think I read it like 3 months ago, 4 months ago, 5 months ago, like before COVID. I remember reading it.
Yeah. Why don't you? You've been like collecting all the different covers and that.
Well, the Jenny Prison ones. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So. And then we got our others, which are new to the story, just like me. Their first time reading it. Delphia and Kachun. What's going on, guys?
Not much. Ready to talk about this book. We have, I guess the first is 6. I think the first 6.
5.
First 5. Sorry, my bad. But we read through it, so we're definitely curious to hear what you guys thought about it.
Yeah, I am definitely curious to hear everyone's thoughts. Yeah, this is the first trade, collects the first 5 issues. Issue 7 just dropped last week because of the delays and everything else. So almost caught up. Pretty easy probably to catch up at this point if grabbed this volume and want to catch up. I want to shout out the chat, and then we will get into this. The Unruly Simeon was tailgating as always. I feel like he's always tailgating on my channel and almost everyone else's channel that I watch. NYC's in the chat. June's in the chat. Ben Compton, what's going on? Got the Old Wolf in the chat. What's going on, Tony? That looks like about it so far. Old Wolf is saying hello to everyone individually. So thank you for joining us. Thank you. So, John, we'll start with you. So, was this a book club book?
Yes, it was. In fact, during this little bit when you were checking in with the chat, I was like, I got to remember who our guest
You covered it on that. I forgot.
It was Bueller. Yeah.
It was Bueller. Okay.
Okay.
Wow.
He had been hyped on it in advance. I think he had gotten advance word or something and wanted to talk about it. And then when Alec and I picked it, I was like, I'm going to check in and see if he's got the free time. And he joined us. Yeah.
Nice. So, obviously, you kept reading it. What was the consensus after the first issue on book club? Just out of curiosity.
Bueller probably loved it the most. He lost his grip, and it's been one of his favorite books since then. I mean, he's been getting it since. Absolutely loved it. I was probably second. I was right behind him. I think issue 1 is not as good as some of the later ones, but so for me, I was like, I'm going to stick with it for a little while. It ended up being like something that I grew to like even more. And then I don't know that Alec has read more than beyond the first few issues, but he's, you know how finicky he is.
He's a little picky. He's hard to please. So Kavi, you started to tell us, you said somewhere.
Yeah, actually, I think Euler is probably the first person I heard talk about the book. I remember he said something about meeting James Tynion at some signing or event possibly, but I don't remember which one or exactly when that was. But I remember him talking to James Tynion about his new creator-owned book, Something is Killing the Children, and then he kept talking about it. So I don't remember when it is I actually started pulling the trigger on reading the book. It was like early this year, like late last year, early this year, and I read most of it single issue digitally on my iPad. But it's the Jenny Prison cover to issue number 1 that kind of got me into the let's try to also collect this book. So as a Prison collector and fan, the B cover to number 1 sort of drew me in as well. And then there's like 5 versions of it or something. I think I have 4 out of the 5 versions of it. I'm still missing one of the versions, but
No.
So those are the two things that kind of got me into it. Bueller from the story perspective, Jenny Frison from the variant cover collectability standpoint. I would like to go back and track down a regular A cover #1, which I actually don't have, but I assume that's not going to be that difficult. So.
There you go. And for anybody who wants to go back and watch that after we're done, you can go back and watch the original.
Yeah, we're mentioning Bueller enough that I thought if people want to hear Bueller's side and what Bueller's saying, you guys can click the link later on and check it out.
So
yeah,
I was pretty sure before I get to Kachung I was pretty sure I remembered you guys doing it on book club because I remember like debating on it mainly because of the Jenny Frison cover. I was like, should I get this because of that? And I'm like, I'll wait and see because I knew you guys were doing it. I was like, I'll wait and see. And it was kind of like, I felt like, I remember Bueller liked it. You were kind of in the middle and Alec was kind of like, which is normal for Alec. and I ended up just not picking it up, like not going down that road. I think my shop might have been out of the Frison covers by the time I went in, and I just never went back to it. So it wasn't until really, I think Kavi is the one that like kind of sold me on, you need to read this. Like, you need to go back and read this. When I was talking about doing this show and going down there, he's like, this is one of the things that you'd read recently and really enjoyed. So Kachung and Sophia, didn't mean to cut you off, but what about you guys? How did you guys?
Yeah, well, so
do?
I've been seeing and hearing increasingly good things about this book. The last book we bought was like almost a year ago, so we haven't been collecting anything new. Seeing it constantly being brought up and people showing these books. I'm a fan of horror, and then JP went and brought all these trades and said he was going to talk about them all. And I was like, well, Something to Killing the Children is definitely up my alley. I'm a horror fan. Delphia loves her Edgar Allan Poe and a lot of dark. We like watching dark stories, so we figured it could be up our alley. And we literally read it this weekend, so we're brand new.
We're the newest.
Yeah, I read it last week sometime, I think. So yeah,
it's a pretty quick read. It's a pretty quick read.
I didn't get all the way back through it today. I got most of the way back through it. So, all right. So first impressions, everybody's first impressions. John said you thought the first issue wasn't as good, but how did first impressions of this is kind of these first 5 issues overall, and what you just kind of thought. When did you get hooked? I guess. If you said,
certainly in the issue 3 range, I was like, I'm definitely going to keep getting this book. And by the time I finished this first story arc, the trade covers 5 issues. By the time I finished that, I was like, I'm good for at least another full run on this. And I'm going to say like 6 and 7 have been excellent. That's the Frison 6 right there with the chainsaw that I just.
Oh yeah, that's a great cover. Right?
That's probably my favorite.
I got the variant, the incentive of that also.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, those are all.
I looked at both, but I was like, the color on that, the green and stuff, I just freaking love it. Although this is an underrated issue, the issue 2 variant, I really dig from the.
Yeah, that's cool.
In the back of that.
Yeah, this is the
bunch of covers.
Who did that one again?
It's not
It's in the back. Hang on,
it's the artist who did Little Bird.
Ian Bertram.
Yeah, the artist.
Ian Bertram.
Yeah, Ian Bertram. Sorry. Yeah,
So,
there actually are.
I would say somewhere. I mean, I picked up issue 2 and I liked issue 2 more. So for me, it was just a steady. Like I felt this progression. Like each issue was getting better for me. The things I didn't like about issue 1 were minimized as far as I wanted more Erica and I got more Erica. Like she was given a smaller part in issue 1 and then steadily got the lead role that she should have had because she's on like every cover to make her the smaller like part in issue 1 was kind of a foolish. I don't know. Still feels kind of foolish to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would kind of agree with that. What about you, Kavi? How long did it take you to get kind of hooked to where you're into this?
Probably the page that Erica Slaughter makes her first appearance, and then ever since that point on, like I just dig the character. This is one of those examples to me where you have a mysterious lead character who's appealing in many different ways, potentially for fans to like speculate on you know, certain aspects of her character. And you don't get a ton of information right away. And you don't really even get a ton of information by the end of issue 5 or even by the end of issue 7, which is where I'm at in my head with the story, right? So the intrigue or mystery around this Erica Slaughter character is what keeps me reading. Like, the monster stuff is cool. Like, the little kid I could kind of do without. James, like, for me. Tommy, you know, like, I'm not a huge fan yet of any of the ancillary characters, but I'm a big Erica Slaughter fan, and I want to see where that goes, especially with this whole, you know, whoever, you know, mystical authority is out there kind of like pulling the strings or whatever, you know, that's still kind of, by the end of issue 5 anyway, not really clear. So for me, it's purely her character, really, that's like, for me, the most interesting part of the book, and the part that I look forward to the most every issue. Like, frankly, you know, like, I'm hoping one day that when CGC, you know, grades these books, it's first appearance of Erica Slaughter, not just Something is Killing the Children, #1,
Wow.
and nothing else. Because I'm, you know, to me, that's the breakout character here, and that's what everyone cares about as they move along.
And I will say that panel where she's introduced, I'm going to show it now, is like the phenomenal first panel. That's the first panel where you see her. Let me get it in focus. With the machetes, all bloodied, and her mask, and it's just like, you see this little kid really through something, and then this girl walks up that is a bloody mess, and it's like, okay, what is going on here? So that is a well seen to introduce that character. What about you guys?
Did she just chop that little girl's arm off?
Well, you kind of wonder, wait, like, is she responsible for this? What is happening here? Like, and then you realize that, like, this little kid was waiting on her and actually, like, happy to see her. So it's a very odd, but like I don't know, you can see it very well, but her eye, like, look, giving that kid side eye there is like, when she walks up, that is just a phenomenal panel. It's maybe for me, we'll get into the art in a minute, maybe for me the best panel in this whole volume. Like, just the way they pull that off.
There's some really good splash pages too with her.
There are some really good splash pages. So, continuing, Delphi, what about you guys? It sounds like you liked it so far, maybe, but I may be getting ahead of it. But, like, what did you guys think? What were your first impressions as you were reading this?
I mean, I thought it was really good. I think that it reads well with the 5 stories in the trade. I thought that the writing was really stronger than some of the other books that I've read. It was some pretty good writing. But as far as the way that the text was laid out, was a little funky.
Oh yeah, you turn the page and you start reading it like it's one page, but it's actually across both pages, and it took almost 2 full issues to get used to that. And then you turn the page, scan it to see, okay, how am I reading this, and then go about reading the page.
Yeah, like, I think it's like almost like they had a digital audience in mind for some of those pages, even possibly, like because I feel like that the way that that's formatted and laid out is
that
like for a horizontal view on an iPad. You know,
that makes sense.
Is there a point that?
Because like most pages are what you would normally think of, but there are a bunch of pages that go all the way across, and you got to like be alert for when they're doing that. Yeah. They give you clues usually, but yeah, that's definitely something that was definitely.
Yeah, my whole experience has been reading this digital. I haven't actually read it. Like, I obviously have some single issues, but I haven't flipped through it that way. I've read it digitally.
So we've got some new people that have hopped in here. I'm gonna shout out the chat a little bit. We got Bake the Snake is hanging out with us. What's going on, Tyler? The immortal Biggie Shack. What's going on, Biggie? Rob Boswell's in the house. Let's see who else jumped in here. Seawood. What's going on? New Stan. And let's see, somebody else jumped in. Oh, Karen, like the 2 YouTubers, was in here earlier. What's going on? And House of the End. What's going on? Thank you guys for hanging out.
So if I was getting these books one by one, I would have been hooked from the start, because I love splash pages, and that end of that first book where he's tearing that kid apart.
Yeah, man.
I mean, that's. I would have been like, wow, okay, I need to know what's going on here, because I like my gore. And
yeah, he loved all the gore.
But
had plenty of it.
Yeah, I mean, and knowing there's 6 and 7, definitely want to know what's going on. But
So, do we want to go story or
Yeah,
art?
like that last splash page, or
go
not
ahead.
the last splash page, but that splash page in issue 1. It's like almost symbiote like, you know, like the whatever. I get, what do you call this? The first appearance of the monsters, or like I don't know, you know,
the tree thing.
the tree thing. Yeah,
Odd looking like spider tree.
has a little bit of a saga look also.
Yeah, a little bit of a saga, like what was
spider
it?
character.
And then the end of the second issue is, what the heck is that thing coming out of the octopus? The octopus is probably my favorite character. Creepy and weird.
Yeah. Hey, Bearded Comic Bro, thank you for joining us. Fuchsia, what's going on? So
That's a good point about the octopus. What is it? It's like a doll, right? Like
yeah, it's like
I freaking, so as pumped as Kavi is on Erica, like part of me is like the doll is the best character in this.
Right? Yeah, the doll's great.
I freaking love the doll. So for those that are like, I guess we're doing story, right?
we'll do story. We're gonna story.
Erica talks to her stuffed animal, this like creepy looking, homemade looking.
It is a very creepy looking stuffed animal
with like one eye that's there and one that's like X'd out. Like it's a weird looking doll. And little by little, the reveal is that it talks back, and other people can hear it and talk to it as well.
For a few issues, I thought it was just part of her like psyche or something.
Right? Me too. I totally did. And I think that reveal is one of my favorite parts of this 5-issue story.
For sure.
Is her connection to the doll, and then the reveal in later issues as far as what's going on in the boardroom of the slaughterhouse, if you want to call it that, right? Do
they get to that in issue 5, or is that issue 6?
No, they show it. They show the image of them all sitting there with their animals.
Yeah,
he gets connected or whatever, he gets tapped into that.
Exactly.
You think the boardroom.
Right.
That's it. That's all you get.
And
that at the end.
I dig that completely. And the attitude that the octopus has, he's got like a legit chip on his shoulder attitude that I think is amazing. And again,
Tom, he reminds me of that fox in Middle West.
Right.
Like a little bit.
A cruder, nastier, cares less version. I totally get that. But yeah, that idea of a familiar that's not really useful except for basic advice guidance that you can usually ignore. Yeah. And the connection it has for her to the boardroom, which is, right there. Where if you look, they've all got theirs, right? Each of those Slaughter family members has their own creepy stuffed animal, kind of like an Inception token that you need to know if you're in the real world or not, right? They've got these little devices for communication or a connection to something. So yeah, for me, that character and that piece that it adds to Erica's character.
There's a creepy octopus.
The doll. Again, I love that one eye is X'd out and one's a button.
It is a creepy looking,
I just love it. So yeah, story wise, I totally agree with what Kavi said. I don't know how you want to do it, but I'm just going to dive into like.
Just dive in.
I can't stand all the little side characters. Most of them, there's a bunch of them that I'm like, you just cut this person way out. And I get it. You need some characters that ground Erica so that she's not just part of this insane world. But I'll tell you right now, they don't need as much time and energy as they get.
Yeah. To me, the weakest part of the whole thing as a new reader was like when it got to issue 5, like in the end, I was sort of hoping that when she defeats the first monster, kills the first monster, that it was just this whole story arc was just going to be your introduction to Erica, and then she was going to move on to another town because I really didn't care about anybody else in this particular town. Like the Tommy character, they spent a lot of time on, did not really interest me. That's sort of like Kavi, and
I think he's like there so that she can be quippy with somebody.
Yeah, and the kid that she's hanging out
To
with
me.
is kind of just like
Yeah.
her guide, and I'm like, well, she can pick up a new guy that's maybe more interesting in the next town. But that was me. What about you, Jeff? What do you think of like the side characters, and everything else?
I mean, yeah, like I'm curious about the one-armed girl. There's I think the FBI guy or whoever he's interviewing at the start, he disappears. Unless it's the brother cop. I'm still not sure if it's the same guy, but I expect it's just some FBI guy.
Mm-hmm.
The naked dad, I mean, okay, it's kind of...
What about the guy at the
It's
school?
just
Is he like a guidance counselor or something like that? Like, that guy's kind of funny a little bit.
Yeah, the guidance counselor was great.
Yeah, he's like the principal. He's been in the school a couple of years. He's just out of college, which I don't know how he can become a principal in a couple of years, but maybe.
Ask John.
He's gone. I mean, we don't see him again.
Right.
Yeah.
Then there's the mom of Tommy. She's obviously broken because of the
daughter.
sister's possibly dead, and ends up, he finds her. But yeah, there's a lot of characters that come and go. You don't see them again, but they spend at least a double page on them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or like that girl that there was like the child that died later that had literally no purpose before or after that. Not really. It wasn't really needed.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I mean, I think overall, I think a lot of the characters that are in this, like in the first 5 books at least, are really there to help develop Erica, right?
Yeah.
It's not so much that they're that important, but basically so you can build out who she is,
Yeah, I agree with that, because to me that was why I was sort of fully expecting that the phone call she got at the end was not, hey, there's more monsters in this town. It was, where's the next monster? I'll be honest. I sort of like the way they set this up, and with the opening scene with her and the little girl from the other town before she comes to this town, and the way this played out up until that moment, I was sort of expecting a little bit that this was going to be, what was it, kung fu, like the traveling warrior, like that we were just going to follow Erica from town to town to town. And maybe they'll still do that. I don't know, like down the road. Like, I don't know how, because they're only 7 issues in, but like
not so far in 6 and 7 to my remembrance.
Yeah.
But,
so like, but I'll be honest, that's sort of what I thought they were going to set up, is this was going to be, if any of you have read like Jack Reacher books where he just travels from town to town, and it's always like a new set of characters around him and different circumstances.
I think a lot of people said that that's what they thought was going to happen.
Yeah.
I remember, I think even Bueller was like, that's what he had hoped. Reading just issue 1, Bueller was like, that's what I hope this comic becomes. And I think I still have hope that that's what it becomes. But I'm not disappointed by how it's evolved from trade 1 into whatever's going to end up being trade 2.
Neither am I, but it's pretty new. I just read issue 7 like today.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you that annoying boy plays a much smaller part. Like you just barely see. It's really her at this point.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, I think what was I going to say?
You were ready.
I was. Come back to me.
I think honestly, I mean, I don't think they're going to move away from this town anytime soon. Because I think they took time to introduce this town by having her write it on her arm, and that becoming a part of not only this, like the story, but the art and everything, and like to become a focal point. So, I mean, I think she probably won't leave this town. I got Stranger Things meets like Buffy vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I didn't foresee this being like a anthology style series, like where it's like, the adventure of Erica Slaughter this month or this week or whatever. To me, it feels like there's an end game plan that he has for this, and it happens in this town. At least that's the way I feel when I read the book.
She's kind of like Sigourney Weaver. She found the Queen alien.
Right.
And they got to go out and defeat the other aliens first. But the court, I kind of thought of it as a court of owls, this Slaughter family, and she's Batman. And I wondered if they they had done what she's doing in the past. Why is she the only one that's out killing these things? Why aren't they helping? But maybe they've been doing it in the past, and this is just an ongoing thing. You would think that if it had happened before, they would know that these other towns around had been, missing, and all the children as well.
Right. Yeah, they start giving you a little bit more of like what else is going on in Erica's like personal world in the subsequent 2 issues. So you start getting a little bit of that.
I also think there's been some fun rereading this and looking at kind of how this first 5 issues ends. There's some comments that Erica makes about the ability to see these creatures that seems to be more effective the younger you are. So the idea that these other members on the board have aged out of their ability to do what she's doing is kind of cool. Mm-hmm. And it means that her storyline time is finite based on her age, but that, of course, a writer could fit as many stories into a lifetime as they choose to have fit in.
Well, yeah, and all of those people seem significantly older than her, so, like, that, or at least in the boardroom. So, but not necessarily that much different in age. So you do wonder if there's other Ericas. Like, she's reporting, like, this is who she talks to, but is there others in this world that are doing this? Like, that would eventually be her. Like, 50 years from now, it's her and, like, 4 other people that were at her time are sitting around the table. If that's where, like, this world would go. And I haven't read 6 or 7, so I don't have any clue. I've seen the boardroom for, like, 1 panel, but it's like, but I do get the kind of the Buffy, there's several ways I feel like they can go with this. Like I said, Bearded Comic Bro said that it started as a mini, which I didn't know for sure if it was a mini or an ongoing. It'll be interesting if he's telling a story about this town and this thing, and then it's over. Mm-hmm. Like, or if this, because I feel like the character in this world has potential to be beyond the group of monsters she's trying to kill in this town. And unless you're setting up a Buffy Hellmouth situation where this town is going to constantly be overrun, which I feel like we've seen done, like, eventually she's going to move on. So that's, and the question is, will we continue to follow her when she moves on?
And none of those board members had big eyes like her. She related to them. And why is her eyes so big? Is that a thing? Is it important?
She could be like a crossbreed between the monsters and.
Yeah, I don't know if that's.
She just needs to sleep really bad. She just needs to get some shut up.
Some sleep.
Some sleep.
Yeah, personally for me, I really hope it goes in a somewhat more anthology route. I think it would get really dull if she just keeps staying in this one town. I think the interest, just that opening sequence you were talking about in issue 1, where she comes out, she comes out of the woods covered in blood, the big weapon in her hand, and there's the noises, right? The sounds that are made in the written on the page of the little girl with no legs in the like wagon, and she's like wheeling it around. It's like squeaky, squeaky, squeaky. Like you can just see her like go. She's got one eye covered. She's got no legs. You can tell that she's been like waiting for Erica to come back out of the woods and give the report. But that whole scene alone encapsulates what I feel like this comic should eventually become. The idea that she's on this mission to help these group of kids. She's going to be on that mission to help these other group of kids. I think it could be very interesting to see her someplace in the snow, someplace in the desert, someplace, you get the chupacabra one week, you get the Yeti the next week. I feel like there's a chance to go as the mythology grows. Sure, interesting, but I think the X-Files-y monster of the week thing could be kind of.
Oh, I see what you mean. Like Grimm.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. That's really where I thought it was going.
I still have hope that that's the goal, but that maybe these first 10 issues could be a dual story for a while. I
kind of hope the opposite, so that it's like a 25 to 30 issue thing, and then it's done. You know what I mean? I'm hoping that like I can experience the full story in the next year to 2 years tops, and that it doesn't become one of those bloated series that has 100 issues or whatever. Because like I don't know if I would want to read a new adventure each, every 4 issues or whatever of just the next town and the next set of monsters. Like to me, that story can kind of get stale, and I just by changing the location and the ancillary players, like, is it really going to be that much more interesting every time? Like, I don't know. So to me, like when I think about it, I'm hoping it's a shorter ongoing series. Like, yeah, maybe they extended it from a mini to an ongoing, but I don't know what his plans are for like how long of a story this is or how many issues or whatever. But
I don't want it to be infinite.
Right.
But I would like a few stories of her. She's in the bayou dealing with some voodoo beast, and I would love like expanding of this world beyond this. The more it's in this one town, I think that's going to get stale for me. Because
Kavi, you want she has to become canon of this huge world so that you can get your first appearance from CBC. She has to become part of
I guess, but once you anthologize something, it doesn't become one saga. You know what I mean? Like, I think the word anthology is being misinterpreted here a little bit because I don't know. Like when I look at a book like Monstrous or Saga or whatever, they're not anthologies. Yeah, the locations change, and a lot of other characters are introduced. I would be totally open to that in this book. You know what I mean? But if you want to talk about it like an anthology series, then it's like, okay, anybody could come in on volume 3 and they'd be okay. I'm hoping it's not like that because I'm just hoping that there's more of a through line. Like eventually that gets unraveled to where it feels like one consistent story or something. I don't know.
I would, in my mind, I was thinking more of like a Sandman universe kind of thing where it's like, it's all connected, but like each volume is its own story and its own tale, and the characters are just moving along.
So, yeah, that's more what I was thinking. It's kind of what John was saying. Where it's like, yeah, you might go to a different town, but you'd also be progressing her story and her relation to this, whatever this boardroom is, which you guys are already apparently a little bit ahead on. And
I got to give a shout out to this interior artist dude, though. I mean, this is spoiler alert, this is from issue 7, but I mean, this is my favorite splash page so far. I just read this issue today. This is the only thing I've ever read/seen from this artist. It's like the Italian guy, right? Like Werther Deladera. I really like his artwork.
So let's get into the art a little bit. Like
the cover?
You started down that road. So you really like what he's
mean, the character design for Erica is awesome. I just, generally speaking, but I like the layouts. I like the way that the monsters kind of engage, and the way he shows movement. I think his art style, it fits the tone of the series. I like the coloring, but I think the coloring is done by somebody else. But I like the coloring in general. I don't have a lot of complaints about the artwork. I think it's a pretty cool, distinct, unique style, and it fits the tone of the series.
The lighting is really well done.
Yeah,
like you can tell if they're under fluorescent light outside, in a dark trailer, in a cave.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Sorry, I was just showing some bigger panels.
I even like just kind of like the small town, scenes and stuff like that of like inside the school or inside a diner, like that one scene where they're kind of like looking over the map in that diner.
Yeah, they going back to the story a little second, that she spend a little time talking about her sitting in that spot and giving him $50 every day.
That's right. Yeah.
And he throws that out the window because he just he thinks she's crazy. But now I guess they're getting together.
He suspects her or something.
I'm wondering if maybe they go and sit down at the diner now. And
yeah, that whole interaction takes there's some parts in here where I feel like where we're following some of the people in the town that are like Why are we following?
Right. Well, without spoiling issue 6 and 7, there is more dialogue between Tommy and Erica in the to be had. And
Well,
in
you
those
have
issues.
to after she like indoctrinates him into seeing
Exactly.
monsters. Like now
Yeah.
he can see them again.
Yeah.
Right. He becomes a major part of this story now, and
Yeah.
I guess they're going to get those kids off to the hospital. That's where they left it.
Yeah.
So what about you, John? What do you think of the artist and the art? In the...
I think several of you mentioned that the panel layouts take a little while to get used to, and I totally agree. Even going back and rereading, I had to remind myself the way when it goes across or when it goes down. But I like that it almost has its own penmanship in that way. That it's almost got its own language. It's not easy to read like a basic Marvel book or something like that. It demands a little bit more and it gives a little bit more back. So I dig that. I also love the splash page that is included every time, or spread page for the title. Like it feels like
it's very cinematic,
right? Yeah, you're reading along and then it's like you have the little stinger beforehand and then all of a sudden the title and the credits, right? And then the issue begins in proper, right? Every issue has this moment where it's just boom. And then the issue sort of properly begins after that in a way. So I really dig the style, the layout. I think it's a book that I like the writing more than the art, but the art is great, and the way they draw Erica with her hair always covering one eye like she's this Cyclops or something, and that mask, that really cool mask that she's got. And I dig the art. Art is good.
So I'm probably going to be like the least fond of the art, and like I fully admit, like I enjoy it overall. Like I think it's a positive to the story. I think some of the panels are just amazing. I find, other than Erica, I feel like the character designs leave me a little flat. I don't feel like they're very distinguished. Like the only reason you can tell James apart from everybody else is he's got glass. I don't feel like there's a lot of like the other characters are very well distinguished from each other overall. I feel like there's a lot of, I just feel like the designs are a little flat. I don't know if it's intentional so that Erica stands out even more, or if it's just like from the world around her. Like, and it may be, if it is, it's an interesting choice and it works. But like, I do feel like some of the designs, some of the panels for me leave me flat. But then you have like some of the splashes that we showed, and even that one was just a little bitty panel, like where she first appears, just phenomenal. And overall, I think it really works for the story. I'm not a huge fan of the style as a whole, I guess, if that makes any sense. But I do think it works. Hey, Jimmy, what's going on? So, what about you guys, Kachung and Delphia?
I see what you mean about, her being more defined, I guess is a word, than the other characters, especially, the sheriff or Tommy even. Yeah, and he's very liberal with his blood.
Yeah.
But again, I don't think that's a complaint, right? That's not a complaint.
Yeah,
for
I
me,
like
at
that.
least.
I
enjoy that.
I love every panel with lots of blood and guts and.
This flashback where he's like, "Oh, you've done this kind of thing before," and she's like,
"Yeah, that's a great page."
Yeah, kinda. But yeah, I mean,
it's weird how the kid's glasses, you can't see his eyes, but then some of the other characters that have glasses on, you can see their eyes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost, I don't know, in a way it's kind of like, because the kids are like, he's kind of empty, right? A little bit. Like he's kind of like, he doesn't have like, he doesn't know how to make friends. He's kind of like a loner a little bit. Now he's suspect of murder. So it's kind of like, honestly, like it's weird that everyone else has that, but like the whole, run, you just can't see his eyes. And they make that a thing. He doesn't take the glasses off. So not even when, well, I shouldn't say spoilers. So I'll stop, right? Regardless.
Well, it's a spoiler show for these 5 issues.
Oh, sure, okay. When he got done, even like he's still wearing glasses, being carried to the hospital. So I just feel like, and you can't see his eyes. So I don't know. maybe it means nothing, but the fact that they either decided not to draw them is just laziness, or they did it for a reason.
I mean, they do show him a couple of times. Like, you can see his eyes on a couple of panels, but they're always like close up of his face. Like, they get real like tight to his face. But yeah, anytime he's at any kind of distance, it's just the white. Whereas everybody else is like,
yeah, I mean, I think the other character designs might be more memorable if they did more memorable things. You know, like just from a writing standpoint, like we were started talking about earlier how like Erica is the strong suit of the book and the side characters are the weak part of the book. I think that applies to both the writing and the art. You know, it's like they're both trying to tell the story, and Erica outshines the rest of the cast, if you will, in this, you know, this story. So, but yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, you know, like in addition to her character design being the best, her story is the best part. So it's just like she's the best part of this book, and I consider the octopus thing like half its own character, but half also part of her character.
Right.
So like I kind of loop that in with just like my curiosity of her character and what's going on, what's her backstory, what's, you know, like all these questions that you would ask when you're starting to be a fan of a newer book, like in your head, and a new character. I'm finding those questions swirling around in my head as I read the issues. So for me, that's a positive sign long term of me following this book. So yeah.
Yeah, I want to just reiterate how good I think the lighting is. That he's done such a good job. Like in there, you know, it's kind of under fluorescence, and then they're pretty much the very next page. They're in a different room, different lighting, and then, you know, in the cave, it's kind of on the screen, but it's green. She's got that, you know, that
the glow sticks and the
glow stick, which is green, perfect color, matches her eyes.
I mean, the first panel where she comes up with the glow stick is
it's so good. And then, you know, the glow stick's wearing off, and the change of color still, I mean, it's still changing.
Yeah,
he's done a good job.
Yeah, like this panel where she like walks into the cave. Oh, this page, go this way. Where she goes into the cave and she lights the glow stick, and then you get the close up of her face.
Yeah,
he uses lighting very, very well. I will say that is definitely a strength of this artist, is the lighting.
Well, the colorist is Mikel Muerto, who we haven't even mentioned.
Yeah, maybe that's as much maybe the color.
I don't know if that's like this Werther guy's like colorist partner. Maybe they work together on everything. I don't know, because this is the only thing I've ever read that's illustrated by this guy. So. And
I guess it's part of the art, but the lettering is also really good. The whispers, and then the octopus has his own little lettering style.
Yeah, his own colors and lettering style.
It's a psychotic little doll.
The octopus is so like interesting because the whole time like she's talking to it, and everyone else, like the kid's just like, "Are you talking to the octopus?" And like you get the big reveal early on in issue 2 that there's more to the octopus than it seems, but then the octopus starts talking to the kid, and he's like, "What the?"
Yeah.
And the octopus is kind of a jerk. I mean, he's
going to break away and get his own miniseries.
Yeah.
I think the artwork was also really good at consistency. I feel like a lot of books, like the further you get through the panels, the characters look different or they kind of morph, you know, especially if they have multiple artists on it. But even when it's the same artist, sometimes it's just not consistent depending on the motion. You know, the faces and the bodies get distorted. And I think that, you know, although a lot of the characters may not be heavily developed, like Erica, they're still very consistent, and the style throughout stays consistent. So I think that's really good too.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Strong.
It is. I think it is the same creative team though throughout the whole.
Yeah.
Issue trade, right? Yeah.
Yes. I don't know if they stayed for 6 and 7, but that is just those 3.
No, it's still the same. Yeah.
It's still the same guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a great comment, Delphia. I think it's hard for especially new books and young writing teams and stuff, and young artists to be this consistent, I don't know a lot of books that pull that off, especially like right out the gate. I think that's a good pull. I totally agree with that.
Stephanie Hans with Die is a good example.
Right, but then she'd been working for a long time versus these guys who, even Kylie, who's like super knowledgeable, was like, I don't think I've read anything by them before.
Yeah, he's done some stuff for DC or whatever, but none of the main titles or anything. Like some of these like offshoot
So
titles that I've
like
never read.
looking here, just what they say at the back of the book. Loveness with Vertigo for DC.
Yeah, I never read that.
Spider-Man Family Business, which was just a graphic novel.
Never read that.
He's drawn some Italian comics. So yeah, he's won awards in Italy and stuff for some of his work. But yeah, and the Mikel Murto, Barcelona, it says he's from Spain, but the only thing they list for him is Druid's Path in 2016. So they don't even list the same title. So maybe it's the first time these guys work together. But they definitely do a good job. I mean, it's definitely. Yeah. I had a few complaints. I did feel like some of the sheriff and some of the other people in town were just kind of flat to me people, but I do feel like that overall the art is pretty good. So, 1 second. So
I hear a dog.
Ours is snoring below us.
I know. I'm used to yours. Yeah. So for me, like one thing that I think we haven't really touched on too much is I like the construction of this arc, these 5 issues, as the slow build to what is ultimately like a final issue. Issue 5 is basically just one giant fight.
Yeah.
And I like the pacing, the build up issue to issue that way. When I read issue 4 and it basically ends with her in the cave with the beast and a bigger problem like in between her and the beast, I was like, oh man, I can't wait to read the final issue. Now this is crazy cool. And then issue 5 was a great payoff with the showdown and the reveal, and she just goes ape. And then issue 4 again, all that setup, going shopping for the chainsaw and all the gear, and
that was great. Yeah,
the pacing of it.
Give me the one that will just accidentally kill everybody.
Right, and there were shots in that panels in there that remind. I mean, I talked about The Wire before we went live, but like the beginning of season 4 of The Wire, one of the characters goes shopping for a nail gun, and the guy's helping her buy the nail gun, and some of the dialogue rapport is like straight out of that, but the opposite in the sense of I'm not looking for the most professional weapon. It's gonna just give me something that's gonna keep cutting and never jam and just keep going. And
the same happened in Breaking Bad when he was going to the Home Depot or whatever for barrels to put bodies in.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
So good.
So that build up for the arc I thought was really well done and led to a really fun, like intensely climactic issue 5.
Yeah, that 5th issue was great. The boy started talking to the doll, and they started fighting in the cave. Tommy was there, and and then she's sitting on the queen.
It makes you wonder. Like I know I wondered when the kid got shot, right? Because spoiler show. So I wondered when the kid got shot if the octopus book bag, if like the Guardian, if it knew that he would get shot, and that would kind of like break that barrier between Tommy and Erica, or if it's more like it can see into the future, or if it really thought that he could go in there and actually help. You know what I mean? Because I just don't think that it really, if it's a smarter entity that's attached to this warrior chick, I highly doubt it would think that this kid could go in there and do anything.
I felt like it was just being sadistic, as in, if I put this kid in here, he's probably going to die. Right,
but if he doesn't walk in there, and Tommy doesn't actually shoot him, does the rest of that scene play out in a way that that Erica Slaughter walks out of there alive is the question. You know what I mean?
That is a
You
good
could run
question.
that scenario in your head, and I think that's
Yeah.
a great point. I also like the child that does get saved in there, Bion, I think, or Bion. I'm not sure how to pronounce the name.
Yeah.
Beyond.
And she becomes a more interesting character in the next couple issues. Like,
Oh.
I won't
Oh,
spoil
wow.
it. But
Okay.
yeah.
We thought she was going to get dumped as well.
No,
Yeah.
she appears and has, you know, many scenes with Erica. The next
She's
couple
been there a
issues.
while, apparently.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we're coming up on the hour, and so we talked about that. I think you guys have already a little bit of your favorite covers. Like I always like to talk about the covers a little bit. But the weird thing is they don't actually, like, in the trade, they don't give you all the
I can show you the standard A covers real quick.
standard A covers, which is weird.
I mean, that's the A cover to number 1, right?
Okay, yeah.
And then let's see, number 2. Prep.
Okay. So they do give you that image in the book, but it's just like they give you the version of that one.
Number 3.
Boring James.
4.
Thanks.
Nice.
And then number 5.
Okay, cool. So yeah, and like some of the variants they give, like the Jay Lee one for number 1.
Yeah, Jay Lee one's good too. Obviously, the Jenny Frison one's
The
good.
Frison one is obviously awesome.
This one's what? This was 6, right?
That was 6.
I think that was 6. Yeah.
That's not
Yeah.
part of this trade, technically.
So that is the main artist of the book. So it's interesting. Are they giving away something? I don't know if you guys know or not. Like the little light on the side of her head that's normally under her hair that shows up on this cover too. So that'll be interesting if that's like.
Huh.
I just seen that on the cover. I was like, because that's actually the artist of the book, like the draw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they only really talk about it like once or twice in these 5 issues. That when she holds her hair up that one point and shows
Yeah.
it.
Oh.
Well, I guess it's just always there because when she hit Tommy, then that
Yeah.
happened to him as well.
Yeah. So yeah. So they don't. Really
I couldn't remember if that was issue 5 or 6, and I was like, which one is it?
That's
So,
the
yeah, they do
enlightenment.
have them. They just don't have the trade. They just show them as vert. So they do have the main A's.
Yeah.
They just show them without the trade dress. So
You know, when we got to the end and we saw those covers, I saw the Jay Lee cover and I thought, man, that he's really good. You know, he was the main artist on the Gunslinger, the Dark Tower series, and he would be a great stand-in artist for this book if they needed another
Yeah,
artist.
it would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like the verdict for everybody is everybody's going to keep going. Is that like? Is that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to keep going. I just don't know, like, because I paid for issue 7 as a digital download on, Comixology or whatever, and I've been reading it digitally. But, maybe moving forward, it might be more cost effective for me to wait for the volume 2 trade and get that or whatever. So that's the decision I got to make. It's like, how do I want to start? How do I want to continue collecting and reading this story? But I know I want to continue at least reading it. I don't know about collecting it. Maybe we'll see. But yeah.
So John, you're getting individual issues. Are you going to keep doing that route?
Yeah, I mean, I don't imagine I'm going to stop. It's one of the better or best book club books I think we've done. I would say this and Die and Once in Future probably are the ones I like the most.
That's the other big Boom Studios one that I haven't started yet.
Sure.
Once in Future.
And I go back and forth between which one I like the most, and that's a great sign because they're all really, really fantastic. I've never made this one where I'm buying all the covers because I've only really done that for Die. But I try to buy the variants unless the variant just is. I think it was issue 3. I looked at the variant. I was like, that's just not for me. I'm going to go back to the regular cover now.
There you go. So what about you, Delphia Kachung? Are you guys going to wait for the next trade? Or are you going to go try to track down 6 and 7? Where are you guys at on this?
I mean, personally, I'd like to finish it. I'd like to, read at least the miniseries portion of this story. So Honestly, who knows? We have been so out of it as far as getting new stuff, but we started to slowly like dip our toes back into that, and a lot of it was just self-control, because we were running out of space and money. But I could see us either picking up the second trade for sure, and possibly grabbing a couple of these. I mean, because honestly, like right now our LCS has tons of every book. So
yeah, they're not getting a ton of business, as I'm sure most aren't. So they're pretty stocked.
Yeah. For me, I think I probably will wait for the next trade to keep reading. Although I may be inclined to, like, if there's more Ginny Frizen or covers that I like, I may try to grab like an occasion.
Yeah, if there's covers that I want, especially if it's a Ginny Frizen, I'll probably probably cave. But
yeah, so like I may try to go back and get issue 1, that cover. I may try to get that issue 6 cover, but I'll probably wait to read till the next trade. And I'll be honest, like something I didn't really talk about in the story is this did not feel like 5 issues when I read it. Like reading these together, it went really fast, and I was like, well, it did not feel like I went through 5 full issues.
Dude, I reread 7 issues in 90 minutes today.
Yeah. And part of it is it's not super dialogue heavy, and there's a few scenes that are, but it's not super dialogue heavy. But it just, the pacing was good enough. It did not feel like, to me, it took 5 full issues. It moved really quick, and I kind of like reading it in a chunk. It really, for me, I think that would have been less satisfying had I read it issue a month later and issue a month later. Like the way it read, like the fact that I got to read all 5 of these at once. I think made me enjoy it more.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I also think, because these first 2 stories are so clearly connected, you could easily have a hardcover 10-issue version that you could blast through quickly as well, but also have a longer story, and it would work really well. Yeah.
I think the most text-heavy pages were those with characters that didn't really need to be there. So it could have been shorter even more.
Yeah, I mean, like the text-heavy pages are her talking to the cop, and her like
cops talking to each other.
Her and James talking to each other. But then like when they're in the restaurant thing, where like the first confrontation with Tommy and stuff, like in the restaurant and that kind of stuff. But like, yeah, those are the most dialogue-heavy pages, and they're really not even that bad. So
yeah.
Yeah, it's not a very wordy, challenging read. It's just like formatted in a non-traditional kind of way.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it'd be better to read on digital.
I don't know, because I've only read it on digital, but I thought it was one of the more enjoyable digital comic reads that I've done.
It seemed like you didn't have a problem with the
No, because like the way that the screen adjusts, which way it's proper to. Left and right and all that. So,
I can see that. Because this one sometimes you turn the page and you're like, wait, do I go down or do I go up?
Yeah, I didn't have to deal with that because the screen was telling me which way to turn it.
Yeah. So, you guys got any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
All right.
John?
No, I like the book.
Okay, Kyle, you like the book?
It was good.
I give it a solid A-.
A-? Nice. What about you, John?
I think if anyone watching this could take away one thing from me, I'd say read more Boom Studios books. You're hearing it in the chat a ton. This, Once and Future, Strange Skies Over East Berlin, Alienated. I'm reading a ton of Boom Studios books, and every time they drop a new one, I'm trying it out. Like just because, like next week it's Wind, right? WYND. Is this week? Sorry, this Wednesday.
Yeah.
Wasn't there another Wind?
I don't know.
Yeah, there's a 3-page preview of Wind at the end.
Of this
issue 7.
Yeah, at the end of issue 7, they're showing you Tynan, James Tynan the Fourth.
James Tynion.
Well, Alec corrected me. He said he talked to him and asked him. He says it's Tynan.
James Tynan.
James Tynan. So I'm trying to correct my mind because I've always heard Tynion. And Alec asked him recently, and I was like, oh, crap, now I got to remember a new way. But he's got a new book for Boom Studios dropping Wednesday that we're doing for book club. Nice. So I'm grabbing it. I don't even think we have a guest because I don't think anybody's.
Oh, is that coming out this Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Is it Wind or Wind?
WYND. So I can't tell. I don't know.
I read it as Wind, but maybe it's Wind.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, check out more Boom Studios books for sure. And if anybody's reading that book, if anyone's picking up Tynan's new book, hit us up if you want to join book club and chat it up. We're gonna be breaking it down. I'm very excited for another Boom Studios book.
Nice. All right. Well, you guys got anything you want to pitch before we get off of here that you got coming up on your channels? Start with Katoon and Delphia. You guys gonna make any videos?
You know.
Perfectly casual, non-committal. I like it.
We've been talking about getting in the garage, right, for like at least 3 or 4 months now. But Kachung actually worked in the garage today to like finish clearing it out. So we're pretty close. I mean, I will say that our goal, we kind of got demotivated with, COVID.
Yeah.
Well, because honestly, this time we would naturally be in our cosplay crunch anyway.
Getting ready for Dragon Con.
Right.
And it's kind of like, I think they're still having Dragon Con actually. Like they were up in the air about it. And I know someone that works like behind the scenes with a lot of the panels and stuff every year. And she told me, I want to say 4 months ago, like no, three months ago, they were like definitely not doing it. And now it looks like they are. But honestly, a lot of people are canceling. And I don't think that right now, like, unless we went in like hazmat suits, it's like Breaking Bad. That like
it's a good cosplay.
But we want to just do some stuff anyway. Kachung has a couple of ideas as far as like things he wants to create, maybe even for the community, and like he has some cool ideas he's been sending around that we can kind of apply our cosplay stuff to.
Yeah.
And then just working on some slow, really cool builds. So it's definitely something we're going to kick off, I would say, in the next like 2 weeks.
Nice.
So that's soon enough. And then also I won a contest from Downright Nerdy.
Nice.
So
when they did that big giveaway,
the huge giveaway, that's right.
Nice.
So we'll certainly do an unboxing for that. So that won't be obviously something to delve into, but we'll do an unboxing for that probably in the next week, and then in the next 2 weeks we'll get in the garage and you guys can see a different part of our house.
Sweet.
What about you, Kavi? Got anything coming up?
Why don't you just promote what you got coming up? Because I'm on like every one of your videos. So I don't need to promote shit.
There you go. Okay.
I will say that between now and next Monday, when I'm also on this guy's channel again, I have a literal crap ton of stuff coming out. So it's going to be a busy week, but it's my last week of school and my first week of summer vacation. So it's going to be, I'm just going to pack it all in. So in like 25 minutes, I'm on the Boy Who Had Sevens channel. We're doing another Comic Gories. So that's happening like in the next 25 minutes.
John, have you eaten dinner?
Yeah, my wife is bringing home a pizza. She went to Costco and she's like, I'm just going to grab a pizza. Do it.
Do it.
So then we got book club and the Wednesday show on the Comic Core. And then Friday, I'm really pumped and excited to be talking. It's all I got on my brain is The Wire. Like I can't stop thinking about it. And Stay Puff and Fire Guy are going to join me, and we're going to do our first of probably several hours just discussing overall themes for that show and why they work and how they work. And if you're a fan of The Wire or you're curious what it's about, you should definitely come by. We might spoil some things, but the truth is we're probably going to go so deep on this, you won't understand anyway.
Omar coming.
Omar coming. Yeah.
Omar coming.
Omar coming, man. Omar always coming to town. So that's Friday. And then I got more stuff on Saturday, Sunday. Monday, I'm back with this guy. So there's a ton coming up for sure. So just check your local listings.
There you go.
All right.
TV guide. Whip out that TV guide.
You mentioned it already. if you watched the Fables episode of the show, you'll know Jason wasn't a big fan of Volume 1 of Fables. But John says I have to give it another shot, so he sent me Volumes 2 and 3, and we will be discussing those next Monday.
I read Volume 1 and 2.
Yeah. So we'll be talking about that next Monday. I've actually got through both of them, but I'm not giving any spoilers of whether I liked it more or not. I'll make John wait till next Monday.
I fell asleep reading Fables. Never got back to it.
Yeah.
Little tear.
Highly recommended, though. It was highly recommended to us. So a lot of people like it. I didn't crack it open, but Kachung fell asleep.
Volumes 2 and 3 are better.
It was highly recommended to him also, so you never know.
Over the next tomorrow, supposedly I have 2 boxes from CGC, TJ's AOK, and my new computer all arriving tomorrow. So probably going to unbox TJ's AOK tomorrow night. The CGC box is Wednesday night, just to kind of spread those out. I want to give TJ his own video because he was nice enough to send me something. And so we'll probably do that first tomorrow night and then do the CGC boxes and unboxing on Wednesday. Thursday, I will be on Kavi's channel, and we were talking about the next episode of Gotham City Chronicles. We're doing Batman the Cult.
Such a good Batman book.
So we got Miss Explain joining us for that, and there was somebody else that wanted to join us for that, but we never did remember who it was. So if you're out there, let us know. We both forgot. So, but yeah, we're talking about that on Thursday night. And then as we talked about next Monday, the next episode of the Indie Show, we're doing Volumes 2 and 3 of Fables. So, yeah. So that's all I got. I want to thank you guys for everyone in the chats. God Tank was still hanging around. Mastodon, Bake the Snake was still hanging around. John's in the chat a bunch. So, well, thank all of you for hanging out. I want to thank these guys for joining me. I really appreciate it. And catch you guys next time.
Thanks for having us.
Stories.